Good morning. Good morning. We are so excited to be back for yet another Comerica Business Bootcamp series. And I know I've said this for the last year that I'm so excited when we get to do these boot camps because we're bringing you tangible professional and business development resources and tools and trainings and workshops that you can take the information and apply to your business today. Not next week, not next month, not next year, but today. And this conversation is going to serve many of you well. But before we dive in, I definitely want to share a little bit more for those of you who are new and don't know about the bootcamp experience. So I was having a conversation with a good friend of mine, and I realized that I'm trying to think the best way to say this. There was an issue with professionalism in business. The business etiquette just wasn't a thing. And so I shared a little bit about that and prioritizing our time. And Summer happened to catch wind of that message. And she said, we should do a workshop on this. Well, you know me. I said, well, let's go ahead and do it. And I kind of challenged her back. And she said, okay, great. I'll talk to you in a couple of weeks. We'll see what we can do. I wasn't ready for that. The beautiful thing is that we ended up within a week's time put together what turned into a dynamic professional development series, not just one, but 12 different workshops. And so we just want to welcome you because we know that COVID-19 has affected communities across the globe. And though the world is beginning to reopen, careers, businesses, and lives have begun to come back to the new normal, not what the normal was, but new. They've been gravely impacted by this global pandemic. And so Comerica Bank excitingly has partnered with DiscoverHer Worldwide to bring a new series of 12 bi-weekly business workshops to the business community. And so the Comerica Business Bootcamps are designed for the nonprofit founder, the entrepreneur, the service provider, as well as corporate leaders to remain proactive in increasing your knowledge and developing your skills as we navigate this post-COVID world together. For those of you who are new to me, I am your host, Margot Blair. I'm a leadership development consultant and the founder of DiscoverHer Worldwide Incorporated. We are headquartered here in Phoenix, Arizona. The mission and vision of DiscoverHer Worldwide is designed to bridge generational gaps between diverse groups of women. Now, pre-Rona, we would do this through in-person professional and personal development experiences, such as conferences, trainings, and seminars. But as we figure out how to navigate this post-COVID world at DiscoverHer, we have put together virtual experiences such as these to teach the fundamentals that may have been missed, to equip leaders with the actionable steps that you can apply to your business and life immediately. As well, by creating and cultivating these experiences, we're able to grow our professional networks. And I would be remiss if I didn't welcome and thank the person behind the yes of bringing this vision to life. And that person is Summer Fawcett of Comerica Bank. And you're pretty much settled, I'm assuming by now, but in the last several months, she has gotten a new position as the National African American Business Development Manager. So Summer, we are so grateful to see you. And thank you so much for saying yes to this vision and joining us for the Bootcamp series. Hi.
Yes, hi, hey. Margo, it's such a blast to see you each and every time. Like, you are my coffee in the morning, to be honest. I love it. This is, you know what, DiscoverHer partnering with Comerica Bank is one of those things where it's just kind of, it put itself together and it was just a smooth transition. Like, there was nothing difficult about doing this. And we were able to bring these fantastic workshops, fantastic speakers, people who are experts in their industry and very, very smart with how they perform their business, and then giving this information to others. It's almost like an individual or customized university for business owners. And it's absolutely amazing. Like, as a business owner myself, I take notes while people are talking because I don't know everything. So I'm just like, okay, so yes, exactly. So it's a fantastic opportunity. And honestly, this particular series, this particular speaking, it's areas that nobody knows. So you can't just look this up and get the right answers. This is information that is going to be passed down that you can share with others, especially people of color. This is a fantastic opportunity for us. And at Comerica Bank, we're super excited to be here, excited to be a partner with you. And these are things that we can't teach in the bank. Okay, so this is stuff like, okay, we're gonna back you, we're gonna side with you because we believe in it, we trust it. We can't teach it as a bank, so we need our community to teach our community about a business, about structure, about organization, moving past your passion on how to run a business. And I absolutely love it. I thank you for providing the host, providing the speakers, being the host. And I'm here in the background, here to answer questions from a corporate point of view, but I am certainly in the back taking notes myself. I'll chime in when asked, but thank you so much for allowing us to be here. I'm very excited.
Thank you so much again, Summer. You have been a valuable asset to these conversations. You've provided so much value time and time again. And so again, we just thank you for your contribution to being part of this. So before we dive in, because we have an incredible speaker, and I'm really grateful for a few reasons. Before we get into the housekeeping, I just have to say this because you've heard me talk about the importance of collaboration, and I am an avid believer that there is an entire psychology behind collaboration. By partnering with people, by connecting with people who you can learn and grow from, do business with, and just regularly do life with. And so as we dive into this conversation, I really want you to be privy to who is speaking, and we're going to get into a little bit more of that in just a moment. So before we dive into today's segment, I want to share a few housekeeping details. We invite you to be an active participant in this discussion. But what does this actually look like? When you hear something that resonates with you, speaks to you, let us know in the comments. If you'd like for one of us to provide additional clarity, you will have the opportunity at the end to share that, but make sure you're posting your questions in the comments. This particular segment is going to be a little bit different. If you've been with us before, we have a live presentation for this particular segment, and it's going to be so dynamic. So drop your comments in the section, give us your feedback in the section if something's resonating with you, and then we will have a final call for questions. So again, just be sure to drop them in the comment section, and my team and I will do our best to get your questions answered. We always tell you this because there's always so much valuable information that is shared. Grab your notepad and pen if you have not done so already, and be sure to share this workshop with fellow entrepreneurs you know who can benefit from this information. And if you don't know if they can benefit from it, tag them anyway. They will find value in this conversation. And the last but not least, tag us in any quotables that you receive from this conversation, and do so using the hashtag Comerica Business Sense Bootcamp. What that allows us to do is it shows us what your major takeaways were from this conversation. And if you click the hashtag yourself, you'll be able to see all of the quotables from the previous segments over the last year. And again, we just thank you, each and every single one of you, for joining us, because you could have been anywhere else in this world, but you were here with us to learn, to grow, and to prepare to make a greater impact in the lives of those you're called to lead. So without further ado, I am so grateful to just welcome somebody who I now get to call a friend. I thank you, Dr. Pamela, for joining us for this conversation. And for those of you who don't know Dr. Pamela or WeBackWest, Dr. Pamela Williamson is currently the president and CEO of WeBackWest. WeBackWest strives to cultivate sustainable relationships between certified women business enterprises and corporate America through certification education, and targeted networking. In her role as president, she facilitates mutually beneficial procurement opportunities for women business enterprises and corporations on both the local and national level. I need you to hear me when I'm saying this. It's not just what's happening in the Phoenix Valley. She's able to create opportunities on a national level. And as well, WeBackWest and Dr. Pamela Williamson educate corporations on the value of doing business with women. Dr. Williamson holds a doctorate in healthcare administration, a master's in business administration, and a bachelor's degree in both social work and psychology. So she is very well versed in various topics. And so we are just honored to have you with us today, Dr. Pamela Williamson. How are you doing?
I am well, and I am so excited to be here. And so I look forward to this discussion. I hope everyone has lots of questions. Certification is such an amazing resource, and to get the opportunity to educate people about not only what it is, but also the process is just amazing to me right now. So it's the perfect time. So if you haven't thought about getting certified, this is the perfect time to really consider it.
Absolutely. And Dr. Pamela, before we dive all the way in, can you tell the community who's watching, what is WeBackWest? What is business certification? Why is this important? And then you can just take it and straight in after that.
Okay, so you kind of cut out a little bit in between that, but I think you asked 3 questions, and I have built all 3 of those answers in the presentation.
Even better, so go ahead and dive straight in.
Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and start to share my screen. Okay, so I hope everyone can see my screen now. And so welcome to today's presentation on learning the ins and outs of certification. When I talked with our host earlier on, she had some great questions that she wanted to make sure that I responded to in this presentation. So we're going to go through not only the process of certification, but also what the value is of certification and why corporations are looking for certified women-owned businesses and diverse businesses also. I'm also going to cover just a little bit about some of the different certifications that are out there. Okay, so let's start with just a discussion about what certification is and what it isn't. Certification is a process of validation. So for us, because we certify women-owned businesses, we work with the Women's Business Enterprise National Council. And this process of certification for WeBank just as it validates that the organization is 51% owned, controlled, operated, and managed by a woman or women. And I think the one thing that's important to remember about any certification, regardless of the type, is that it really just is a tool that you put in your toolbox. It doesn't guarantee business. It's really just a resource tool. There are lots of types of certifications out there. There are the Women's Business Enterprise National Council certification. WeBank is the largest certifier of women-owned businesses in the United States. And we're a leading advocate for women business owners as well as entrepreneurs. And again, we certify that the women or women business owner is at least 51% owned, controlled, and operated and managed by women. The National Minority Supplier Diversity certification is the certifying organization for minority-controlled business enterprises whose minority owners own at least 51% of the firm. And then within the last few years, corporations have now started looking at certification from LGBTQ and also veteran certification. And so the processes that I'm going to talk about are very similar. For those of you who don't know, WeBank was really born out of the Minority Council. So the processes that I'm going to talk about around the certification will also cover the minority certification, also will look very similar to the veteran certification, and will also look very similar to the LGBTQ certification. The other certification that we provide from a WeBank standpoint is the SBA and the WOSB, the Women-Owned Small Business Certification. So I'm also going to talk about that certification process later on in this segment. So why do corporations and government agencies request certifications? So WeBank's theme is really about joining forces and succeeding together. The WeBank certification is about integrity. It recognizes and it's recognized and respected by Fortune 500 corporations as well as government entities, and with established supplier diversity programs. Both corporations and government agencies believe that diversity promotes and creates a valuable partnership. By diversifying the supply chain, it also encourages innovative thinking, bringing in diverse and women-owned suppliers, bring in new thought processes. It also increases the competitive advantage for the corporation. Diverse suppliers bring in flexibility. It also creates opportunities for the community in which they reside and the community at large. It also strengthens the communities. And so a lot of time, a while back, people used to say that supplier diversity was just a good thing to do. It is really now a strategic imperative for corporations to embrace diversity. Diversity of thought, diversity of age, diversity of gender, ethnicity. Because if a corporation can't reflect the community that it serves, why would that community will not grow? So just to tell you a little bit about WeBackWest and WeBank. WeBank was founded in 1997. The Women's Business Enterprise Certification is national and recognized by corporate America and the Small Business Administration throughout all of the United States. WeBank has 14 regional partner organizations, which WeBackWest is one of the 14 regional partner organizations. And WeBank has over 3,000 corporations that accept the Women's Business Enterprise. So that's on a national scale. So now let's talk about WeBackWest from a regional perspective. So as I said, WeBackWest is one of the 14 regional partners. We cover the territory of Arizona, Southern California, Utah, Wyoming, Colorado, Nevada, Hawaii, and Guam. Once you get certified from any of the 14 regional partners, I think the coolest thing is that if you are certified from WeBackWest, you can take advantage of all the services that any of the 14 RPOs offer. So it is truly a nationwide certification. So before I get into the certification process and criteria, I really want to talk a little bit about why people choose to become certified. And so there's typically 3 reasons. One, they want to do business with corporations. 2, they want to do business with other diverse or women-owned firms. Or 3, they've been asked by a corporation to become certified. So if you look at, they want to do business with corporations, and how does that work? So within corporations, a lot of corporations have supplier diversity programs, and that supplier diversity person is really the internal champion for diverse and underrepresented groups. And so that's one reason, because they get to connect. You will have an advocate when you become certified within a corporation. 2, corporations source from our database. In regards to wanting to do business with other diverse suppliers, it's a great network to meet other women or diverse business owners. 2, a lot of contracts are getting larger. And so becoming certified allows you to connect and potentially partner with other certified WBEs, MBEs, LGBTQ. And so we've seen more and more partnerships occur And to discuss the third, corporations within their organization sometimes will have supplier diversity goals. And so there's different buckets of supplier diversity goals. And so corporations have created supplier diversity in order to outreach to those communities in order to bring in minority, women-owned, and underrepresented groups into their supply chain. I'm going to go back for a second. So I want to talk about the certification criteria that we utilize. So first is ownership. Applicants' companies must be at least 51% owned by one or more women who are U.S. citizens or permanent legal residents. The next factor is operational and control. Management and the daily operations of the company must be controlled by one or more of the women. You will find this information in your governance documents. And when I say governance documents, that's your operating agreement, your partnership agreement, or your bylaws. We look at the contribution of capital and or expertise by women owners shall be real and substantial and be in proportion to the interest acquired. Independence. The women or women owners shall have the ability to perform in its area of specialty expertise without substantial reliance upon finances or resources from a male or a non-woman business enterprise. And the US citizen or legal residents, at least 51% owned and controlled by one or more women who are US citizens or lawful permanent residents. So I want to spend a little bit of time just talking about this because I think that, well, we have experienced times where a female owner truly believes that she has the ownership of a company when she doesn't. And so an example of that, or how that might happen, is that when you start your company, in your bylaws, you might have it to where you're selling your stock, or you have different levels of stock. In that ownership, you have to ensure that you have 51% of the ownership. And so what tends to happen is businesses grow and they start issuing stock shares. They might gift stock to their family. They might sell shares. And then all of a sudden what happens is they no longer own 51%. So we have had experiences where we've denied women who had no clue that between the shares that they gifted, that they no longer owned the business. Operational and control, a lack of operation and control might look like when you build out your bylaws and you look, there might be an instance where you have set up a board and your board now has control of what happens to the business. And so you have to make sure, a lot of us tend to hire a company to write our bylaws or go online and find bylaws or possibly have a friend that gave you bylaws. So you have to make sure that within your bylaws, it is very clear that you as the owner control that business. Contribution, when we look at the contribution, we're going to make sure that you have put in a substantial contribution. That could, and it could be monetarily, it could be through your expertise, but you have to have put in a contribution to that business success. Independence, what a lack of independence might look like is that, let's say you own a factory and you're producing a widget. But within that factory, the machines that are producing that widget belong to someone else. And you can't produce your widget without that individual. And if that is the case, and that individual is not a female, then for us, you would not be able to be certified because you can't independently operate your business without this other entity. So I want to talk a little bit about the application process, what needs to happen in that, and what you should do before you choose to apply for any certification, not just WeBank certification. You're going to want to visit whatever that entity's website is, and you're going to want to make sure that you understand what the certification is offering and what the process is. For us, you're going to want to go to the WeBackWest.org website, and you're going to click on that certification tab. For WeBank, we have a certification quiz, and I think these are great questions, and they apply across the board to any certification. So our certification quiz is certification right for me? So the first question you want to ask yourself is your product or service something that you are targeting to sell to corporations, retail, government agencies? For us, if you want to sell to the local farmers market down the street, certification may not be good. But if you want to sell to other women business owners, if you want to sell to corporations, then you should consider certification. The next question is, does your business have the capacity to provide quality services and or products on a large contract? So although within corporate America, you can definitely get a tier 2 or a tier 3 or tier 4 contract, you want to make sure that it's something, whatever you are selling, whatever that product or service is, that you can produce or offer it on a large scale. The other question to consider is, are you willing to share the details of your business, including capital investment, tax returns, compensation records? Because if you're not, then you might want to rethink about going through the process of certification. And then you want to make sure that you fully understand that any certification, regardless of what it is truly just a marketing tool. And it does not entitle or guarantee your company will receive corporate or retail or government contracts. Before you apply for any certification, you really want to make sure that you fully understand and know your business structure. And you want to review your company documents prior to applying. The reason why I say that is because the process of certification, regardless what the certification is, it will always be longer if the certification company has to go back and forth with you about collecting your documents. For WeBank, you want to make sure that you download the standards and procedures and really look at those standards and procedures and compare them to your documents, because those standards and procedures are what we utilize to check your company to make sure that it does meet the criteria for certification. We also suggest that you print off the list of the documents and make sure you read that carefully. So a lot of people will say certification is this, regardless of whether it's WeBanks or the minority council certification, people will say that it's a very arduous and long and difficult process. The people who say that are typically the individuals who haven't taken these steps, and they typically don't know their business structure or the documents they need. And so if you take the time ahead of time, if you take the time beforehand to print out whatever certification you're going for, their requirements, and you also take the time to pull your documents and compare it to those requirements, certification is not that difficult. What I can say is that it's extremely important as the owner that you understand your documents, because if you don't understand your documents and something happens and you end up going into court, the court's going to look at your governance docs. That's how they're going to roll. And so, like I said earlier about your bylaws, it's extremely important that you understand and know what your bylaws mean. You want to make sure that your board can't vote you out. You want to make sure that if you're issuing this number of stock, that you always ensure that you can maintain control. Another best practice for prior to applying for certification is, print the documents, highlight any documents that you don't have or that you don't understand, reach out to the certification entity for clarification on what's needed. Always encourage people, most certification entities have a FAQ section. Make sure you read that. It will answer a lot of your questions. Within WeBank, if you go onto our website, it will literally list by types of company structure what's required. There's different requirements for a sole prop versus an LLC versus a corporation. Once you do that, then the next step you really want to do is you want to start collecting together all the required documents. And we do have we have a lot of required information. So I'm going to talk a little bit about those. So we do have some mandatory. So we do require that you provide a history of your business. And that history is really about explaining what your business is, including the where it's located, the why you started it, who you started it with, and how the business was started or acquired. We also require proof of U.S. citizenship. We require proof of gender. And a lot of people say, well, you can see that I'm a woman, or you can see that I'm African American. Yes, a certification entity can see that. But I like to think about this I don't know how many of you remember the old commercial where it was talking about credit card fraud, and they'd have this young woman talking about what they were buying and what they bought, and then it would flip into this older gentleman drinking a beer, sitting down, ordering clothing, phones off of this young lady's credit card. So when we want to ensure that we're certifying who we think we're certifying. So that's one of the key points. Remember, certification validates who you are. We ask for the resume of the owner, and we ask for that resume because we're looking for your expertise and knowledge base in the field that you are applying for certification. We ask for a bank signature card or a letter from your bank. And that goes again about control of the business, right? So typically whoever controls the money tends to control the business. So we make sure that you are the individual who is able to sign on behalf of your business. We ask for 3 years of tax returns. And for businesses that have not been in existence for 3 years, we also will take personal tax returns. And we look at your tax returns because we want to know if there's been a huge influx of funds in your business. And if there is, we're going to ask where those funds came from. Because again, remember, we're looking to make sure that you have a substantial stake in that business. We ask for profit and loss statements that align with your most recent taxes that are submitted. We ask for a balance sheet. We ask for any notes or any promissory notes that you have. We ask for notes payable. We ask if you have employees, we do ask for employee payroll for the month prior to submitting your application. We look and request your W-2s, your 1099s. We also, and then based on your structure, there are some additional things that we will ask for. So once you gather all the documents that are required based on the type of business that you are, and if for some reason you don't have a document, or if you think that that document's not required because all states have different requirements for business structures. We ask that you just submit a letter. And so once you gather all your documents and you go ahead and you review them, you are going to upload those into WeBank link. Once we get your documents, your file is received and we assign you to a certification specialist. And that's the person that you're going to have the most communication with during this process. That person will be able to answer all your questions. They're the one, if you missed a document or if they need clarification on a document, that's the individual who's going to reach out to you and hold those conversations with you. They are also the person who is going to review to ensure that all your documents meet our requirements. Once the file is considered complete, you'll receive a letter. And then that file goes to a certification committee. So our certification committees are made up of from 7 to 12 individuals. They are corporate representatives, they are community representatives. They can also include WBEs. That file is reviewed. That committee will make a determination whether your application for certification is approved or denied. Once that determination is made, the file is scheduled for a site visit. The site visit does occur in your place of business. If you have a factory, they also will want to go and look at that factory. The site visit has standardized questions, but it also has specific questions based on your book of business that the certification committee may have. That certification, that site visitor will make a determination whether to deny or certify your business. Regardless of what happens along the way, every file always gets a site visit. If there's additional questions, they might get an additional site visit. After the site visit is conducted, everything is reviewed. So your committee determination is reviewed, your site visit report is reviewed, a determination of certify or deny occurs. That process can take up to 90 days. So the next question that we typically get asked is, how much does it cost to be certified? Is certification a one-time or is it an annual fee? So the application process for certification it depends on your revenue. So you can see on this slide what the cost would be. The cost for the processing is non-refundable. So if once you pay your fee and you start the application process, and halfway through you decide that, or you determine that, oh, I'm not going to get certified because I don't have this, or I don't really control 51%, the fee is not refundable. The certification is something that you renew every year. And that's because your business changes every year. So every year you don't have to go through the full process of certification. There are specific documents that we will request. So a lot of people ask, okay, so I go through this long process. What is the benefit of certification? And so there's quite a few. So from the national perspective, National has some amazing programs. They have, which are the IBM program, which is the Tech Executive Education Program at Dartmouth. That program is like going through a mini MBA program. WeBank Lift is a financial center of excellence. It is all about lifting women up financially. The WeBank Energy Executive Program is a program that will just immerse you into the energy field. There's also executive programs on construction and other industries. The WeBank We Thrive was really about helping women in different revenue brackets grow their business and also sustain through COVID or any disaster that happens. The Wells Fargo educational program this year was all about the book traction and really developing and coming up with policies and procedures that, regardless of what happens to your business, you can use those consistently throughout. From a WeBackWest perspective, we have a PSP program, which is our Platinum Supplier Program. That program, once you're certified, walks you through how to leverage your certification, how to connect and communicate with corporations, how to grow your business really through utilizing your women certification. We have monthly corporate sessions, which we have different corporations from all across the United States that will come in and do it's almost like a roundtable discussion with WBEs. We have our business continuity training, which is designed to really help you create your disaster plan, but not only create it, but also how do you implement it throughout your business. Our WBE Strong program is a financial program that really walks you through how to grow your business financially. We do industry-specific workshops. Last year, WeBackWest provided 97 educational workshops to our WBEs. And that's just looking at WeBackWest. Remember, once you're certified through WeBank, you are able to participate in any of the 14 RPO events. So let's say your sweet spot is really automotive. You can connect with the Michigan RPO and really engage in the events that they do. From a WeBackWest perspective, we also do showcases. So we have a utility virtual showcase, which allows WBEs to present to about 15 to 20 corporate representatives from utility companies. We have a construction showcase, which does the same. And we also have a corporate and professional service showcase this year that allows those individuals to present to corporations. Every year we change up which showcases we do. We also have our annual conference, which is this year it will be in December because it's a virtual conference this year. We have about 400 to 500 participants, and out of those 400 to 500, about 100 to 110 tend to be corporate representatives. And we also do matchmaker events. I want to just go back and I just looked at the time, and before I close out, I want to just talk about some important things to remember about certification. One, we talked about that it is truly a resource and it's a tool. Being certified does not guarantee that you will get business. I like to think of certification as you get out of it what you put into it. And so the more that you engage, take advantage of some of the opportunities that we offer, the more that you will get out of it. I want to leave with this segment of just talking a little bit about strategies on finding corporate opportunities. So regardless of whether you choose to get certified or you don't get certified, I think that these are some great overarching opportunities or strategies. So I always tell people, if you want to do business with a corporation, the first thing you want to do is you really want to research that corporation. I suggest every year to look at 3 to 5 corporations that you want to research. And when you're researching them, you want to know what they buy. You truly want to know what they sell. The best way to do this research is look at their annual reports. It will not only tell you what they buy, what they sell, it will also tell you what they are projected to buy and sell. Find out who they're currently doing business with and research them. That will help you identify where you fit in, because you want to be able to talk about how you can assist that corporation, what value you bring, whether you can do something quicker, faster, more efficient. I also tell people, research your competitor, know what they're offering so that you can really identify what your differentiator is between your competitor and what you offer. Look and see who they're currently doing business with. What do you bring to the table that's different? What do you bring to the table that's a cost savings? Really be able to talk about those things. I encourage you to really attend events. And when I say really attend events, be present at an event. So many times when we go to an event, we don't develop a strategy. You really should have a strategy for every event you attend, whether it is, connect with 3 people, whether it is connect with this specific person, what do you want out of those connections? You have to build your strategy. Don't go to an event and sit with the same people. Don't go to an event and bring your laptop and do work during the presentation. Be engaged. One of the things that makes me cringe at events is when someone stands up, they have a great question. They ask their question, but they never say who they are or what they do. Take that time, because not only does it allow the person you're asking the question to know who you are, but you don't know who you can do business in the audience. So make sure you take advantage of that opportunity. When you go to an event, build relationships. Anytime that there is a matchmaker event that you have an opportunity to participate and you know that you can add value to one of those corporations, participate in the matchmaker, but make sure you're prepared for that conversation. Again, it goes back to research, research, research. And then register on corporate vendor portals. Whether you're certified or you're not certified, corporations have vendor portals that don't require you to be certified. And a lot of times when they are sending out RFPs, those RFPs go to that list of individuals. So make sure you register on vendor portals. And so I am going to open up to any questions that anybody might have.
This has been such a really dynamic workshop, Dr. Pamela. You mentioned several really, really great things. And I love, we have 30 minutes to kind of go deeper on a few of the things that you mentioned, and then pull back some questions. We do have several questions, but I definitely wanted to speak to a number of things that you mentioned. One, most recently was the event participation strategy and the importance of having one. I'm an avid believer in that, and I agree with you. One of the things that I teach my students and clients in regard to events is kind of twofold. One is for the event creator, the person hosting the event, is to create the opportunity to have a pre-event engagement strategy. And when I'm talking about the pre-event engagement strategy is cultivating the space for the attendees, the speakers, to kind of get the opportunity to connect with one another, to learn who's going to be in the room. And it's every time we do that with our events and experiences, the live event, when we're on site or now virtually, is 10 times more dynamic because we created that environment prior to the event actually happening, which, kind of gets out the jitters, right? People aren't scared to walk up to someone and say, "Hi, I'm Margot Blair. I'm a leadership development consultant. Nice to meet you, Dr. Pamela." So that's one thing that I wanted to speak to. The other side of that goes to your point of the relationship building. And you said being willing to not just sit and be a wallflower. One of the things that I like to say, and I'm proud to say this, is that I'm a professional stalker. When I get invited to be a speaker at an event or even attend an event, quite frankly, I will look up the speakers who are going to be there, and then I will go then. It's the most professional social media platform today, but I'll go to the LinkedIn and I'll add them there. And I might say, "Hey, I'm Margot. I'm excited to hear your presentation or lecture at such and such event." I've now made a touch point, and you spoke to this about differentiating yourself. I know you were talking about the context of certification, but this is a way you can differentiate yourself in these events as you're getting to know and develop relationship, whether you are certified or not. And so I definitely wanted to speak to that. So thank you. Go ahead.
I just want to add 2 things to that. So my first thing is that even if you don't have a pre-event to attend, ask whoever is hosting that event if you have access to the registration list.
Ooh, that's good.
And then you can connect and follow up with people. If there's a specific industry that you really want to connect with, find those people in that industry, reach out to them ahead of time, go into whatever professional social media site and connect with them. And then you're right. A lot of times I go to conferences by myself, and I used to hate going by myself because I didn't know anyone. But then when I started to do that, at least I had already had a touch point, and I could say, hey, I'm going to be there at 9. Do you want to meet in the lobby for happy hour so I can meet you in person? So I think those are all important things to do. I think in the content or the context of supplier diversity and just growing your business through that, those are all good points to do. I think that, researching people before time is, people do business with people that they like and know and have things in common with. So the more that you can identify what you have in common, the better the conversation will be and the more memorable you'll be.
I love that. I love that. I have some more comments, but I want to jump into some questions that we have. So one of the things you mentioned at the beginning of your presentation was about stock shares. And I want us to make sure that we're explaining this for our people who may not know exactly what that means, because I know the conversations that we've had, Summer and I, we both had these questions asked of us. We found that some of the individuals who are listening in, they didn't necessarily lay a solid business foundation the first time around. And so a lot of these workshops are providing not just so much valuable information, but some of them are coming with questions. Is how in the world do I know if I've given some stock shares away? How do I know and identify whether I have that 51% ownership that I need for the certification? Can you talk a little bit about that?
I can. So I'm going to start by saying a lot of individuals who start corporations and they're and it's just them, they don't issue stock. But what people have to remember is a corporation is an entity among itself, right? So in order for someone to own that corporation, you have to issue stock. And so you should have a stock ledger, and you're going to put down the type of stock, whether it is, because you can have non-voting and voting shares. So you just want to make sure that when you start your corporation, that you put a value on that corporation, which then determines what the stock is worth, and that you issue those stocks. So you can issue 100% to yourself if you want, but you have to issue the stock because someone has to own that corporation.
And you have to do that. And that is something, and I wanted you to speak to that directly because, again, I'm going to say this really loosely, but it's really important that we have these conversations. Dr. Pamela, you may be new to this for us, but we like to pull off Band-Aids. And again, we know that a lot of people didn't necessarily lay a solid business foundation the first time around. And so in the state of Arizona, so this is, I don't know for other businesses in different states, but in the state of Arizona, the reality is you can fill out a form and you submit it. Mm-hmm. And you get a stamp, you have a business. A lot of people don't know what information, it wasn't prepared by a professional. It wasn't prepared by a legal team or a lawyer or a business attorney. And so they really don't know what information is there. And so I really thank you for taking the time to explain that, because there's so much more information that really goes into the fundamentals of entrepreneurship that then stems to and develops into business ownership. And then again, there's even a greater conversation to have when we're talking about actually operating your business as the CEO. So again, thank you for taking time to share that. You also mentioned the different contract tiers. You mentioned having a 1 tier, 2 tier, 3 tier. Can you talk a little bit more about the different contract tiers and why, what information should we know about that?
So I think a lot of times business owners want to do business, let's say with a Comerica or a Disney or a large corporation. And so that would be a tier 1 relationship where they are paying me directly. There's a lot to consider before taking on that type of relationship. Sometimes payments might be longer, the requirements might be stiffer, the insurance might be more. There's also the opportunity to do like a tier 2, which means that you're working for a prime that has that initial relationship with that contractor, with that corporation. So the corporation pays that subcontractor, meaning that they're taking on that first firewall. So they're taking on whatever that big insurance requirement is. They might not get paid for 180 days or 190 days, but is a tier 2, your requirements might be less than that. They might pay you in 30 days. So then you get to tier 3 and tier 4, which it just keeps going down and down. Also, what I would say is that I've talked to lots of companies where they're like, I don't want to be a tier 2. I only want to do business directly with Comerica. And what I would say to that is, the money any different? Does it change colors along the way? Can you not buy things when it doesn't come directly from Comerica? And the answer to all of that is no. So it might sound cool that I'm doing business with Comerica directly, but at the end of the day, what does it truly cost you to do that when you look at the insurance and the time frame for payment and all of that? So you really need to consider those things.
Again, really, really great feedback there. And I wanna share this too, because this is a really great question that we received. You mentioned who was qualified and how to determine whether you're qualified. I know we've had conversations before about nonprofits not being able to apply. Can we talk about that? Who is not qualified to apply or become a certified business as well?
So the best way to determine if you qualify or you don't qualify is who controls your business, who runs. So at the end of the day, a nonprofit is run by the board. The board really controls that nonprofit. So even some franchises are not eligible for certification because of the way that franchise agreement is defined. Wow. So there are some franchises where they take all of your incoming revenue, and then they do whatever with it, and then they pay you. So you have to look at who really controls the business, who controls and operates the day-to-day of that business.
Thank you for that as well. Another question we had come in is, I'm trying to read this correctly. If I want to be certified, but I need help getting some of the required documents together, does WeBank have resources to help me get organized? It's kind of
so WeBackWest has a class, and we offer that class every month, and it will walk you through what I suggest. There are lots of companies who do it, and there are lots of people who utilize companies for a reason, right? So we're not saying you shouldn't use a company, but what we are saying is that I feel like it is important that you know your documents. So I would say give us a call. We do have the certification specialist who will walk you through it. But before you do that, I really suggest you pull the standards and procedures, look and see what's required, and then start collecting your documents. Because even if you have someone complete the packet for you and build out your documents, unless you are actively involved in that process, you really don't know what you're going to get. So we've had people who have paid thousands of dollars to have someone do their documents, and we've still denied them because there is something in their legal docs that didn't meet our requirement. So I think it's important, and I'm going to say this as women and also as a minority woman, I think it is really important that you understand your document, because at the end of the day, if something happens, you're the one who's going to have to defend what happened. And so we've had situations where we have had women business owners who have been extremely successful, $50, $60 million businesses that have been denied certification because they didn't control their business, and they had no clue that they didn't control their business. Wow. So I sit on the appeals committee for WeBackWest. I have been yelled at, cussed at, hung up on because people are upset that they didn't get certified and they fully believe that they control and operate their business, and they don't control it. At the end of the day, their board could kick them out. And that's a serious problem.
It is.
And so even when you look at partnerships, LLCs, all of that, make sure that you understand your documents so that you know what your rights are, you know what you can do and what you can't do. And even better than that, you know what your partner can and cannot do. It's important. And I know husbands and wives start businesses every day, but I cannot tell you how many stories when divorce happens or when the partnership split up, the women ends up losing because they didn't understand their documents. And so it's just, I cannot stress that enough. I was an auditor early on in my career, and I truly believe that even if you decide not to get certified, pull the standards and go over it at your leisure with your documents. Because then once you do that, you will know where you stand and where your company stands.
Such a big deal. And again, this is why I value these type of experience. You see, I have my pen. I'm over here taking notes too. But again, like this is why these type of conversations, I'm honored to be able to facilitate for a number of reasons. There's things that people don't know, and what you don't know as a business owner, as an entrepreneur, will or can harm you in the long run. And you just spoke to one that's very, very key. If you don't know this information of whether it's something as simple as your ownership, or if you don't understand or know your documents, you are not going to be able to function and operate in the capacity that you can, right? You're not going to be able to actually make feel the potential that you have as a business owner. And there's people, and I'm speaking directly to the listeners at this point, there are people who need what you have to teach, your services, your products. And so if you aren't going about this business process the right way, it's more than making entrepreneurship look cute, okay? It's so much deeper than that. You are here to serve. And so when I have these conversations, I get a little bit passionate and say, get it together, please. Because again, if we're really talking about making the impact, being a profitable business, there's things from a fundamental standpoint that you have to get together. So again,
and I think also, when people start businesses for a variety of reasons, right?
Absolutely.
One reason people start business is they want to build generational wealth. They want something that they can hand off to their child or, whatever loved one. And so whatever you hand over, you want it to be stable and in good health. And so one of the ways to do that is to make sure the foundation that it's built on is strong. And that foundation has to be built correctly. And making sure that you understand your documents, that you understand what you can and cannot do that are in your documents is important, because if anything happens, the court is going to look at what's in the documents. They don't care what you say. They're going to look at the documents. And so when I was an auditor, one of the things we used to say is that the weakest pencil is stronger than the harshest word. Because at the end of the day, what is written down and signed is what counts.
There's wisdom.
And then the other thing I want to share is I just recently had a meeting with SCORE. And so they are a great resource. And so if you are, putting together your plan, or if you are starting to look at different legal structures, there's a lot of free resources out there. I know a lot of people will say, that they're, I can find that on the internet. I got to tell you, don't believe everything that's on the internet.
Right.
So I just think, tap into some of the resources that are out there, tap into the experts within the industry, really look at, what makes sense for your business structure. I know it's so easy to start a sole prop, but they are so dangerous. So really look into your legal structure, because at the end of the day, If something happens, do you want to be 100% responsible? And so as a sole prop, that's what it means. You can lose your house, you can lose your car. As a sole prop, it is very dangerous to start a business and grow your business in the bubble of a sole prop.
Absolutely, absolutely. And then again, we still have some more questions, and I want to pull Summer up into the conversation too. And so if we can actually, if I don't know if you have any more slides, but I want us to all come back up on the screen. So if you want to stop your screen share, I think this is going to be a really good opportunity for us to expound on this conversation in regard to partnership. And Summer, any other insight you want to add? I think it's going to be a really valuable addition to the conversation at this point, because there are, I know, a number of people who are still asking questions. Okay, you Dr. Pamela, you provided all this information. I now know more about the certification process. I think I might want to do this, but there are still some questions on somebody was asking, well, I have a home-based business and I saw you mention a site visit. What does that look like for me?
So for a home-based business, we actually come into your home. And so we will go wherever your business documents are located. So if it's from your home, we'll do a site visit at your home. We'll ask you specific questions about the industry. We'll ask you specific questions about your operation. So it looks very similar. We're just at your house. And hopefully, I was going to make a joke, but I'm not going to. I was like, ooh, that might not be a good joke today. I'm going to hold it in.
No, you're good. I was waiting for it. But so everybody, before you do this, make sure you tidy up your house. I'll make the joke. You're good. But I think this is really important. So Summer, did you have any questions for Dr. Pamela? Did you want to add some insight from the corporate perspective as well? Because again, this really is a really dynamic conversation.
Yeah, this is absolutely amazing. And it's information as is in the corporate world, we hear it all the time because people want to work with corporations. That's one of the main reasons people get certified, because they wanted to get picked up as a certified business, whether it's minority owned or women owned. And certainly suggest, if it's in your industry, to definitely look at doing that. But when it comes to partnering with a large corporation, you have to remember that the large corporations are not looking at home-based businesses. We're looking at businesses that can do the work on the scale that we need. So if you're looking just in Arizona, then that might be okay for you. But if you're looking at a national platform, we're looking for, we need people who can move and who can go, who can produce whatever it is. So even for Comerica Bank, if it's something like, oh yeah, no problem, we want you to, work on every single one of our retail shops, whether it's to paint one particular wall blue. Well, that's still 700 retail stores, and we normally don't pay you till afterwards. So you have to have the ability to have a scaled business to go and do the work. Even if you're looking at organizations like look at Target or places like that, you're like, oh, I want to put my stuff in a retail store. Great. You have to produce all of that before you get paid. So if you don't have the funds to produce all of that, then you have to either look at tier 2, or you need to work at scaling your business. And that's one of the things that we hear a lot as a business owner, our goals, but there's a lot of in between before you get to that large goal that you want, which is great. I mean, still strive for it, but you want to scale at an appropriate rate, because there is a way of growing too fast, and you can run out of funding before you run out of dream, So definitely scale at the right pace for your business. So I really appreciate what Dr. Pamela is saying. And one of the questions I do have for you is, do you see a particular industry that works best within WeBackWest? Is there something that you're just like, this is a great industry to be in? Because there's businesses that aren't always going to be highlighted. Like, I'll give you my example. My personal business is we have a separate pet industry business. We don't really go into certified because people who want pet stuff don't really look at certified businesses. So is there a particular industry that you like, that you see more often, that gets picked up more than others?
So I'm going to say, I want to say no. And this is why I'm going to say no. I think because it depends on what's going on in the market. It depends on what the trends are. So we know right now there's going to be a lot of infrastructure that's going to be built. So construction, anything construction related right now is going to be, there's going to be a big need for it. And that is such a huge industry when you think about construction. There is nothing that construction doesn't touch, from clothing to footwear to geese wranglers. It's crazy, right? I also want to say that for those smaller companies, I want to say two things. One, yes, you can be a home-based business and you can still get a contract with a corporation. Will it be, it might not be a long contract. It could be something that's very transactional. Two, I think what you're seeing nowadays is that there is such a push for women-owned and minority-owned products that you're going to see more of those items in the store. So for WeBank, we have our women-owned logo. And so, which I actually look for a women-owned logo. So when I go to Target or, any major store, grocery store, it could be something that I can't stand or that I've never tasted before. And if it has a women-owned logo, I'm like, I'm going to try this because, one, I want to support. And it is so important that we support each other. And what people have to remember, we just, one of our WBEs just emailed me last week because her product just got picked up from Costco. And so I was like, oh, I want to buy this, but I'm going to go on the website to see, like cost comparison, because I'm just like that. And it was definitely cheaper on her website, but I went to Costco and I bought it. And I did that because she's got to have those sales to stay on that shelf. And so, and there's a wonderful, I did the same thing with a Black-owned sunscreen that was at Target. I am like, oh, it's this much? Let me go see. And then I was like, my daughter is like, Mom, remember what you said? And I was like, okay, I'm going to spend the extra money to get it here because I want to make sure that I support. So I don't want to limit certification to just, mid-sized to larger businesses, because I also think there is such a great opportunity to partner. So there is such a great opportunity, and not just with women-owned businesses. I encourage our members or our clients, partner with veteran-owned businesses. Corporations are looking for different things at different times, and you might be able to offer something, or you can fulfill half the contract, or you have this one thing that entity needs in order to go after a larger contract. So that's why I say, when you go to events, when you meet people, have true, authentic conversations, because you never know what could be created and what you can build together and go after. Because Summer's absolutely right. Corporations are looking for, large, they're not looking for one item, they're looking for multiple products. But if you can partner with someone, what a great way to join forces and succeed together, which is our tagline. But what a great way to do that. And so I just think, we are so much stronger together when we work together. And that's just not, selling a product or service. That's just in life, right? Yeah. You have to partner. You have to give, you have to, all of that for us to all grow. Because at the end of the day, we want the community to grow, not just one individual in that community to grow.
Absolutely.
Again, I just value you taking the time to even to have this conversation with us. And I'll speak to that last piece just to drive it home a little bit further. When we're talking about partnerships, that's the last thing that you mentioned, Dr. Pamela, and I'm going to drive this point home, and I'm going to point to Summer for this. So we sat down was that 2018? I think it was. We sat down in 2018, and I said, hey, I have this vision. And I was going through it. I was struggling in that season because the vision wasn't coming to life the way I intended it to. And we had this big vision for this conference, and I shared with her, and I said, hey, like, this is what we're doing. And I was just sharing. I wasn't asking for anything, and that's truth be told. And on the other side of that, she saw something, and Summer, you can chime in later if you want to share that. But I want to drive this point home for a reason. When I shared that with her, again, it wasn't because I was asking for anything. And on the other side of that vulnerability, we ended up getting a partnership with Comerica Bank. That was the first official partnership with Comerica Bank, and even in the experience, it wasn't just, hey, thanks for your sponsor dollars. All right, we'll see you later. I let someone know, like, hey, this is, if you're sign on and slap $1 on this, that really doesn't mean much to us. Thank you, but that doesn't mean much to us. I said, that's not it. I said, can you also be in the room? I want you to see the impact that you made. Your dollar is making this happen, right? Bringing it to life, but I need you to see what you're actually bringing to life. And so not only was Comerica Bank via Summer in the room, but we also had Wells Fargo in the room, right? Competitive banks in the room, but they were both our partners. We also had Mass Mutual there. We also had a Bravo Tipping, which is it is a payment processing company. And again, though all of these companies were in the finance industry, they were all in the same room supporting one vision. And it happened to be DiscoverHer's vision for that Woman in Action conference. And again, the reason why I wanted to drive this point home about the partnership is in this context of certification. If you are a candidate for certification, pursue it, because there's opportunities on the table that you can be the catalyst for other businesses. That may have been the long route to tell this story and to make this point, but I wanted you to really get the clear picture here. And so I felt the need to break this down, right? So the certification may not only be for you, but it may be for the jobs that you're creating for the people who are going to be a tier 2, 3, or 4 for you or through your certification, right? And then on the other side of that, if you cannot get your certification, or you don't find that you are at that tier 1 level, set that ego aside and be a tier 2 through 4, because there is so many opportunities in the collaborative partnership space. And I will sing that until my time comes to an end, simply because I've studied the psychology behind leadership and collaboration pretty much for the last decade. And so that's going to be my banister. So again, that was my soapbox. That was my major takeaway from this conversation, is just really figuring out, number one, what you need, regardless of whether you're going through the certification process or not. Get your business in order. That's it. So get your house in order. That's number one. And then number two, my takeaway, is really understanding what the benefits are and what opportunities. You shared a number of those opportunities from the workshops and the partnerships, access to other organizations and individuals. Those are two of my takeaways. So again, Dr. Pamela, thank you so much for joining us as well. Summer, did you have any final remarks for our people?
Yes. I'm gonna piggyback on what you're saying in regards to partnership. I mean, that is crucial. I don't want there to be a negative atmosphere around being tier 2. It's just a word, but honestly, tier 2, I like tier 2 because you don't have to do all the work.
This is
like, pick me. Like, that is
tier 2 here.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I'm okay, because when there's a tier 2, it's not a tier. It's not below. It's partnering. Right. If you look at it saying, I don't have to do all of this by myself. It's like a group effort, and I prefer that. And if that group effort gives you 6 figures, then by all means. I mean, that is what you learn so much. And when you work with organizations who've been doing this, over and over again, and they bring you in, they're like, okay, we need what you have. Can you handle this? And then it's almost like a mentorship as well, because you learn so much from that other organization who knows it like the back of their hand, and they're just going through, and you can ask all the questions you want, because in order for them to succeed, you have to succeed. So it's a really, really good collaboration when you are amongst a group of individuals who are like what we've been saying, working towards that same mission, working towards that same goal, whatever that might be. So I absolutely believe in collaboration. Believe it. I can't do my job without collaboration with internal or external. It's just what has to be done. Everyone has to bring in their piece. There's no one person who's highlighted saying thank you for all you've done, because it's never just one person who handles these large tasks. So I want everyone to understand that certification, yes, it's a tool like Dr. Pamela is saying, but it's reviewed. I mean, when we look at, when I look at organizations, it's like, yeah, look, I see you, Margot, I see you're Black, but are you, I don't go ask if, are you certified? But if you tell me, hey, I'm certified, I'm like, oh my gosh, great, let me send you over to supplier diversity. So it's not that you, have to be certified, but it's just a great benefit. It's like, it's adding character to who you are, and allowing other doors to be opened. So it's a great opportunity, and I certainly enjoy working with women-owned, whether you're certified or not, women-owned, Black-owned, Hispanic-owned, Asian-owned, whatever it is. I thoroughly enjoy working with these groups, because it's a whole nother dynamic in area that we get to see, especially on the corporate side. But when you partner with others, we can share your story and send you to other places, because you never really just get a bid or an RFP just by saying, hey, my name's Summer and I own the, ABC company. It's normally referred by another organization who knows what you do and knows who you are. So, but thank you. That's all I have to say.
Again, thank you so much, Summer, for joining me in this vision of bringing the boot camps to life. Dr. Pamela, as we come to a close for this segment, tear is strolling down my face, but this was a really, really great segment, providing so much value. I want to do a few things, and we always do this at the end of the segment. I am sharing where people can connect with you, which is LinkedIn, but there is an interesting opportunity that is available to some leaders. Can you talk a little bit about the National Black Business Pitch
I
that
can.
I'm sharing as well?
I am actually so excited. This is probably one of, I think every year I have passion projects, but this is beyond a passion project for me. So WeBackWest, in partnership with a multitude of corporations, has put together the National Black Pitch Competition. And that pitch competition will occur in August, although applications are now being taken. The application process is you submit your capability statement and you upload a video of you doing a 3-minute pitch. What's so exciting about this pitch competition is that one, the exposure that you were going to get, we already have about 20 corporations signed up to review all of those videos. So no matter if you get selected to move on to the top 30 or not, you are going to get some exposure to corporations. Also, I am so excited to announce, and I don't think anyone knows this yet, so it is hot off the press.
You're hearing it here first.
Yeah. The Disney Corporation has agreed to do a marketing workshop to everyone who applies. Then also we have Comcast, who is going to do one-on-one pitch mentoring for the top 30 that get selected. That top 30 will be able to pitch live to probably about 30 to 40 corporations. They will select the top 3, which has a financial benefit if you're selected as one of the top 3. But although money is great, I don't see that as the most exciting part if you're selected. The most exciting part is that corporations have said, you know what, if we see someone that we see potential in, whether they're in the top 30 or the top 3, we're going to connect with them and possibly bring them in for mentorship. And so I just think there's so much exposure. I know I feel in my spidey senses that people are like, okay, so what are the cash prizes? So I will share. The top prize is $10,000. The second place prize is $5,000, and the third place prize is $2,500. We are pleased if you know someone who is interested in applying or has a business, encourage them to apply. So many times I hear businesses say, there are no opportunities. I just want an opportunity. If I had an opportunity, I know I could do great things. I could get a great contract. This is your opportunity. So if you are a Black-owned business, check out the website. I know Summer, you're going to put it in the link. But give me a call if you have any questions. Check out the website. We're just so excited to be able to provide this. We hope that this will be something that will continue on yearly, because there are so many undiscovered Black businesses that can really make an impact in the supply chain. And we just want to expose them to this opportunity.
Absolutely. And your dog agrees. So this is great. Again, Dr. Pamela, thank you so much for joining us for this conversation. And for those of you who are tuning in, thank you again for joining us for yet another Comerica Business Sense Bootcamp series. Continue to stay investing into yourself. Continue to learn what it is that you need to do so that you can make the impact in this world you are called to make. Until next time, let's continue making an impact. Blessings, everyone.